Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into my week number 12 must-start and must-sit wide receivers. But before we get down into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's going to show up on the screen right now, at NotoriousFantasy. And if you have any questions about week number 12, please ask down below in the comment section. I would greatly appreciate talking to you guys. I love talking to you guys down there. We're going to be talking about our sponsor of today's video, BetMGM, a little bit later. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 12 must start and must sit wide receivers for week number 12. We begin with my must-start wide receivers, headlined by Joshua Palmer of the LA Chargers, going up against the Arizona Cardinals this week in Arizona. Last week, up against the Kansas City Chiefs, their division rival, in prime time, Joshua Palmer finished the week as the wide receiver number 3 in half PPR, having 8 receptions on 10 targets for 106 yards and not 1 but 2 touchdowns. I highly doubt that Mike Williams is going to end up playing this week, so we should see a bunch of Palmer, just like we saw last week up against the Chiefs. This game also has all of the makings to be a tit-for-tat, high-scoring, back-and-forth affair. Arizona currently ranks 22nd in pass DVOA, and with Kyler Murray, this game really does have the upside to go back and forth, pushing Joshua Palmer to potentially finish inside the top 12 at the wide receiver position for back-to-back weeks. Again, we just saw the San Francisco 49ers lay the smackdown WWE style on the Arizona Cardinals defense, and Justin Herbert, the pervert, while he hasn't been perfect all year, he has been banged up. Ultimately, he is a good enough quarterback, and Joshua Palmer is a good enough player for Palmer to finish as a top 12 wide receiver in this matchup. Next up, we got Garrett Wilson of the New York Jumbo Jets going up against the Chicago Bears at home in MetLife. Week 11 at the New England Patriots. Garrett Wilson shit the bed, but in reality, it wasn't Garrett Wilson's fault because Zach Wilson was a absolute unmitigated fucking disaster, so much so that Mike White is now the starting quarterback of the New York Jets, at least for this week. Last week, we saw Garrett Wilson be the wide receiver 79. Yikes. In half PPR, tied with Cam Sims, 2 receptions on 3 targets for 12 yards. Prior, though, to a disaster-filled week number 11, we had back-to-back Michael Jordan 96-97 solid performances with over 7 targets. And with Mike White under center up against a Bears defense that ranks 30th in pass DVOA, I think we are in for a big bounce-back spot out of Garrett Wilson. I think a lot of people are going to panic to start him because of the quarterback change, but things can't be much worse than what Zach Wilson did last week. Next up, we move to Christian Watson, wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers, going up against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. In week number 11, up against the Les Titans in Tennessee, Garrett Wilson on Thursday Night Football finished the week as the wide receiver number 5 in half PPR, having 4 receptions on 6 targets for 48 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as having 1 rush for 3 yards. Now, the Eagles actually have one of the best pass defenses in the NFL according to DVOA because they're ranked 3rd. But I'm going to follow my gut in this situation. That tells me that I should be riding with Christian Watson until the wheels on the metaphorical bus end up falling off. And he's also had back-to-back games with over 19 half PPR points. So while the matchup isn't necessarily ideal, this is far from an ideal matchup for the Green Bay Packers. Ultimately, I still do think Christian Watson could get it done for my fantasy football team and for your fantasy football team as well. Before we pivot into the must-sit wide receivers, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor over at BetMGM. They've been on your screen the whole entire time. If you're a brand new user to BetMGM and bet $10 on any World Cup game pre-game money line, you'll win $200 in free bets if anyone scores a goal in the World Cup, which is guaranteed to happen. So I'm going to throw it up on the screen right now. You're going to navigate to the top bar, click on soccer, and then you can pick literally whoever the biggest favorite is on the day, bet $10 on them, and even if your bet ends up losing, that team ends up getting smoked, as long as someone scores another goal in the World Cup, you will receive $200 in free bets, which is guaranteed to happen. So bet $10, win $200. Again, must be a pre-game money line. You got to activate the offer, clicking the link in the video description down below. And again, you must be a new user. And please make sure you take advantage of this right now before it's too late, because it only has around 10 days left on the offer. So now we pivot to the must-sit wide receivers, headlined by Michael Pittman Jr. of the Indianapolis Colts, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home in Indianapolis. Last week up against the Eagles at home in Indianapolis. Michael Pittman Jr. was the wide receiver 26 in half PPR, tied with Cortland Sutton, having 6 receptions on 7 targets for 75 yards. Pittman hasn't scored over 11 half PPR points. 11 half PPR points. That's not even a lot of points since week number 6. Just like I said at the beginning of the video, it's week number 12. 6 fucking weeks ago was the last time he scored over 11 half PPR points. Has had 10 plus points in only 4 out of the 10 games that he's played. And the Steelers rank 18th in pass DVOA, so they're pretty middle of the pack. But I know TJ Watt doesn't play corner, right? He's not going to be lined up against Michael Pittman, but Watt turns this defense around, and I think they're significantly better with him healthy, and he is healthy right now. So ultimately, with how much Mr. Matty Ice Baby loves throwing the rock to Mr. Perry Campbell, I just cannot trust Michael Pittman Jr. Next up, we move to Diontae Johnson, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers, going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. Last week, up against the Bengals at home in Pittsburgh, wide receiver 60 in half PPR, tied with David Bell. 4 receptions on 5 targets for 21 yards. Now, I was personally someone that fucking loved Diontae Johnson in the offseason. I was banging the drum aggressively for him. I was talking about how, you know what, even though they're going from Big Ben to Kissing Titties Mitchell Trubisky or to Kenny Pickett, it doesn't matter. He's still going to get a lot of volume. And he is still getting a decent amount of volume. But the problem is the guy hasn't scored a touchdown all year, and he's gotten back the case of the dropsies. And if I'm being completely honest with you, if I'm keeping it 100, if I'm being blatantly honest, Diontae Johnson looks worse than Pickens. Pickens looks like the better player. And if I had both of them on my team, well, at the beginning of the year, I would have been like, Diontae Johnson, obviously, you play him every week. But now we're in week 12, and I would rather have Pickens than Diontae Johnson. I'd rather play Pickens weekly over Diontae Johnson. Maybe towards the end of the season, everything's going to click. Everything's going to be firing at all cylinders, and Diontae Johnson can be that guy that he was at the throughout all of last season with Big Ben Roethlisberger. But right now, frankly, I just do not trust him. Colts also rank 14th in pass DVOA. Final receiver to talk about in today's video is Wiki DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers going up against the Denver Broncos. We got another player that I really like. This guy is immensely talented, and we saw that with PJ Walker under center, DJ Moore was actually pretty fucking solid. The problem is then they went back to Baker, and then now we're sitting with mono man Sam Darnold. So my conclusion to all of this is that I think that with Sam Darnold under center, DJ Moore could be good. He could be good, but I'm waiting to see it with my own 2 eyes, and this matchup up against the Broncos is incredibly scary. So if I was to ever feel confident in DJ Moore's ability, it wouldn't be this week up against the 4th-ranked defense against the pass via pass DVOA. Week 11 at the Baltimore Ravens, he was the wide receiver 62 in half PPR, tied with Kenny Golladay and Damiere Byrd. You know, if you're tied with Kenny Golladay in anything, you shit the bed big time. 3 receptions on 5 targets for 24 yards. He hasn't scored over 10 half PPR points since week number 8, and he's only scored over 10 half PPR points in 3 out of 11 games. And again, the Denver Broncos defense is incredibly legitimate. The offense sucks complete and utter donkey hog. It's terrible. But the defense is amazing. So as of right now, there is nothing that I could there's no way for me to talk myself into going with DJ Moore this week up against the Broncos defense. And the saddest part about this must-sit list is that at the beginning of the year, these are all guys that I'm throwing in my lineup without even having a second thought. And now they're all looking like fantasy football busts. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. If you have any questions about week number 12, please ask down below in the comment section. And please make sure that you check out our exclusive offer with BetMGM. Bet $10 on any World Cup game pre-game money line. You receive $200 in free bets if anyone scores in the World Cup. You can use those on the NFL to free bet. college football, basketball, college basketball, NHL, whatever sport you want. So make sure you guys do check that out. Again, this offer will not last forever. So make sure you take advantage of it now before it's too late. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. We'll be back a little bit later with the quarterback plus tight end start sit video. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.